This is Hino's Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right. I see folks sitting there hating on the Charlo Brothers, dog. Let me tell you something, man. People got to understand this. Again, reverse bias, a.k.a. panderers, a.k.a. detractors. What they do at their truest and their most properest levels is they hate on greatness. When greatness is personified, it can't be hindered. It can only be hindered. It can't be stopped. The Charlo Brothers redeemed themselves in December 2019 from December 2018. Give them credit, man. When you don't do this, this tells us the types of boxing fans that you are. Want to have your cake and want to eat it too. I told you reverse bias. Why do you think I say reverse bias? Because you're reverse in the sense that you're only biased to what you like. And what you don't like, you're going to act like it's on deaf ears. That's what people do, man. And what you got to understand is you got to stop that nonsense. Give the Charlos their credit. They came back and redeemed themselves, man. In a year later, do you understand how hard it is for a fighter not only to redeem yourself, but to win at the highest levels? Come on. And in this nonsense people are running with Jermall Charlo supposedly is ducking Demetrius Andrade. Again, pandering narratives. When pandering narratives hit the ceiling cap, what happens? Woo! They have to come tumbling down. Jermall Charlo called out Demetrius Andrade after his fight against Dennis Hogan. Nobody's talking about that. They just want to talk about Demetrius Andrade running his boo-boo mouth. I told you, anytime a guy nicknames himself boo-boo, he needs to get his head checked. Something's wrong with that picture. But that's the guy that you guys prescribe to, right? It is what it is. Let me tell you something. That fight right there will be a hard fight for both fighters. And I would give an epic breakdown on that fight. But let me give you a pre-assessment of what that fight would look like. Demetrius Andrade does not have the power to knock out Jermall Charlo. But he can box off Jermall Charlo's ears. He's the better boxer. Anyone that would sit here and say otherwise don't know nothing about the sport. But Jermall Charlo is more, what I would say, athletic and explosive. And through his athletics and his explosiveness, he will catch Demetrius Andrade off guard. Same thing that he did with Julian Williams. Because Julian Williams, J-Rock, was outboxing him. But he couldn't account for Jermall Charlo's awkwardness, man. I told you guys, Jermall Charlo is skillfully awkward. Demetrius Andrade is more awkward than Jermall Charlo because he's just naturally an awkward fighter. And when you look at Jermall Charlo, he's naturally a natural, orthodox, conventional style of a fighter. Meaning, when I say this, I'm talking about he gives you conventional boxing phonetic movements. But he does skillfully awkward things that throws fighters off. Go listen to J-Rock at the end of that fight. I always tell you guys, go listen to post fight. He said he threw a punch that I couldn't see. It was just skillfully awkward. It came out of nowhere. That's Jermall Charlo, because Jermall Charlo, like he's told you, he throws a punch that he feels in the moment is going to be the right punch that's going to get his opponent out of there, or is going to sting his opponent. That right there, the reason why I say skillfully awkward is because he's not just throwing it. It's kind of like Marcos Maidana. They're skillfully awkward in the sense that they do it on purpose. This is what skillful awkwardness means. This is not the flaming alcoholic Orlando Salido that left the liquor store, went from his taxi job into the boxing ring, and outboxed and beat the snot out of Vasily Lomachenko. Hence, they still keep saying Vasily Lomachenko's undefeated, which is funny to me because he has a loss on his column. And it was a flaming alcoholic, a.k.a. taxi driver, the guy that was fighting nothing but what? Uber, Lyft, and hold up. Hey, taxi Tijuana cab driver fighters that whooped his ass. Had 12 losses, but whooped his ass. But anyways, let's get back onto the, I had to throw that ding in real quick. It's not Orlando Salido that's just awkward as fuck. Skillfully awkward is like Marcos Maidana and what he did to Adrian Broner. He broke Adrian Broner mentally. Adrian Broner has not recovered from that. That's Jermall Charlo. Skillfully awkward in the sense that he throws a movement that you can't account for. It's not textbook. That's what J-Rock said. It's not a textbook movement. This is what Jermall Charlo would do in a Demetrius Andrade fight. He would throw a shot. This is why Canelo Alvarez and them respect Jermall Charlo and say that he's a great fighter and that this type of fight will be great for boxing, because they understand that Jermall Charlo can throw a shot that can change the dynamic of the fight. And he has power. His power is translated from 154 to 160. Give credit where credit is due. If you're a real boxing fan, you got to give these fighters credit, man. The Charlos are hardworking, man. Their work ethic is off the chart. When have you seen the Charlos ever step on the weigh scale and be out of weight? They always cut, ready to go, slim and trim. They don't always give the best performances, but they always give the best effort. Oof. What I said was so deep and profound. Let me rewind it because it needs to marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Hear me? And hear me? Well, the Charlos don't always give the best performances, but they always give the best effort. And you got to reward a fighter that always brings 100% of their effort. Do you understand the level of work ethic, the level of discipline, and the level of consistency and authenticity associated with that? I'm not a fan of the Charlos and the way they run their mouth. I think they could be a bit much with that. I'll be the first one to admit it because I keep that same energy, dog. Let me say it again. I keep that same energy. But at the same time, I respect what they stand for because Lions only mantra, they represent confidence. It's their bravado, so to speak. It's their form of confidence. And although it may not be my cup of tea, it's a true alpha confidence nevertheless. And I could respect it. I could respect that. They're not special like Earl the True Spence, but they're very, very good. And let me tell you something. These guys that come out of Texas, these Texas product guys, man, the Ife Jogbas of the world, all these guys, I don't know what they putting out in Texas, boy, but they be putting some good stuff out there. Remember, where did Kevin Durant play for? Okay, let me just leave that alone, dog. Where did Ricky Williams play for? Let me just leave that alone. Texas brings out good product. So y'all got to give credit where credit is due. And Maul's the best. Remember, last time I checked, he's undefeated. And if y'all just running with Matt Korobov, then you're not standing on nothing. That's shaky ground. Again, remember, pandering narratives. They have a ceiling cap. Once they go up, they must come tumbling down. Now let's get to Mel. Jermell Charlo is not as good as Maul. But Mel Charlo has improved, man, leaps and bounds. This fight right here, the reason why I tell the reverse bias, a.k.a. detractors, a.k.a. panderers, that's what they are at their truest and their most properest levels, because they're not giving Maul his credit where credit is due. I mean, come on. How much more does Jermell Charlo has to do in order to show you guys that he has strong mental fortitude and he's doubling this thing down with confidence and fortitude? I mean, come on. He showed mental fortitude in his fights with Tony Harrison. There's a lot of people, if they lose a fight of that level, they get broken mentally and they don't come back. Something has to be said for a guy who was mentally broken and brought himself back into a fight. I mean, come on. Do you understand the level of work ethic? Do you understand the level of strength mentally that takes? That's true alpha right there, dog. That's true alpha tendencies right there. Only a true alpha can do that. Rise above the occasion. Jermell Charlo, you know the illustration of what he had? He went from Dark Knight to Dark Knight Rises. He was the Dark Knight Rises. It was like Tony Harrison was Bane. I was born in it. I was molded by it. You merely adopted the dark. He got the Bane movement, right? Tony Harrison was Bane. He broke the back. But when he broke that back, Mel, just like Batman, had an undefining moment where he could have just belted and wilted under pressure. But what happened? Batman, where Bane put him, he trained his butt off and came back and said, you know what? As the Dark Knight, I need to rise. That's Mel. Mel was a Dark Knight that rises. He knew that it was a make or break situation, and mentally he could have been done. But he spent that whole time rebuilding himself back up. Just like y'all give J-Rock credit for doing that after Maul almost broke him, you gotta give Mel credit because Mel had the same thing. He lost a belt, and let's keep it real, he's not a fan favorite to the judges. I think that was the boxing judges' way of humbling him because they didn't like the fact that this guy ran his mouth. So they let Tony Harrison win the belt. Because like I tell you, unless you definitively beat the champion, you don't win. But Mel needed to go through this boxing crossroads. And boy, did he deliver. Boy, if it didn't kill him, it made him stronger. So why not give him credit? So a fight against Jermell Charlo and J-Rock is not going to be a one-sided fight in J-Rock's favor. Because I told you guys, J-Rock makes what he does so well is also his mistake. J-Rock's that guy that will step on your foot. He will throw an elbow. He got that Philly in him. That's what Philly folks do. Danny Garcia fights like that too. Danny Garcia is just a fucking pretty boy. But he fight like that too. These Philly cats, man, you know what I'm saying? And respects to them because I got a lot of cats that I rocks with, you know what I'm saying? Philly cats that, you know what I'm saying? When I step into Philly, it's what's up. I got like 3 or 4 of my boys that's from Philly. Cool cats, man. Respectable cats, you know what I'm saying? That's why I fucks with the Jerron Boots Ennis. because he got that Philly in him. And I know what Philly's all about. So that's why I have respect. Meek Mill's one of my favorite rappers. Where's he from? Philly. Allen Iverson's one of my favorite basketball players. Where is he from? Philly. I respect these Philly cats, dog, because I know what they about. They about that realness. But at the same time, the same thing that makes Julian Williams good is also his kryptonite. He puts so much into stuff. He has not changed that. And it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. He has that Kevin Garnett syndrome. You know how Kevin Garnett in basketball tells you, I don't know how to go in between. It's either 0 or 100. That's Julian Williams. He puts everything in every punch that he throws. It's a good thing because that means he can hurt you and knock you out. But it's also a bad thing because if you're putting everything into it, that means you're not doing weight proportion or weight distribution. That means you're leaving yourself open. And if you look at Mel strikes like a viper, dog. 99.9% accuracy rate. He throws everything in the kitchen sink. So Mel can counter that because of the viper in him and because of the true alpha in him to want to throw blows. And Julian Williams have shown the propensity to be hurt. He was even hurt in the Jerry Hurd fight. Jerry Hurd just got broken and he didn't capitalize. If you go back and watch that fight, J-Rock won that fight unquestionably, unequivocally. I'm not even challenging that. But he was hurt in that fight. And Jerry Hurd didn't do enough to hurt him more. Mel can do more than a Jerry Hurd because Mel doesn't have the same issues that a Jerry Hurd have. This is why I'm trying to tell you guys, this fight is a lot different than what you guys think it is. I'm leaning towards Mel because I believe Mel has just a little bit more. But I wouldn't be surprised if J-Rock will win a fight like that. And I understand how hard a fight that is. But I'm picking something because, like I told people, when you have a cojones and you have nutsacks, you got to let your nutsacks hang and you got to make a pick, double down on that thing, on that bad boy with confidence and fortitude and draw a line in the sand. That's me. That's He Knows the Sport. I'm not going to do this 50-50 stuff. People that do 50-50 are 50-50 in their life. Let me say it again. People that do 50-50 are 50-50 in their life. He Knows the Sport is not 50-50. Because real men and women with confidence, purpose, and an abundance mindset make a pick, stand on that bad boy and double down on that bad boy with confidence and fortitude. That's what I do. I'm picking Mel to win that fight. And if I get it wrong, so well, so be it. Because I understand the level of fight that it is. J-Rock is not no freaking Tony Harrison. Ain't gonna be none of this. So Mel can't do none of that. This is just gonna be, we got mutual respect for one another. I understand the level of opponent that I'm dealing with. Let me lean on Maul and find out what Maul did so that I can replicate that in my own variation as Mel. And let me just make sure that I train like nobody's business. Because trust and believe, J-Rock going to be training like nobody's business. He going to come in hellified shape. Man comes in 10-pack ready. So Mel's going to have to come in 10-pack ready. This is going to be a fight where Mel's going to have to spar with Earl Spence. I'm sure he didn't spar with Earl Spence in the Tony Harrison fight. And that's evident because Earl Spence was on a temporary sabbatical. But he's going to have to spar with Earl Spence to prepare for J-Rock. And I believe if he gets that level of sparring, and spar with his brother Jermall, it's going to have to be a combination of both. I believe he'll be ready. But that's the way that I see that going on. And I would love that would be a triple header on that night that he's fighting Julian Williams, Jermall Charlo's fighting somebody else, Earl the True Spence fighting somebody else, and they run that thing in Texas. That would be a triple header like nobody's business. But start giving respect to the Charlo brothers, man, because they redeemed themselves in 2019. 2020, we'll talk about 2020 when it gets there. It's not even 2020 yet. But for right now, put respect on the Lions Only Charlo Brothers name, dog. It's really that simple. And if you don't do that, you're not a real boxing fan. Because boxing fans, real boxing fans, respect boxers. Because they understand it's a special fraternity. These guys step into the square circle and they do something that you're not able to do. So give respect where respect is due. When you see a fighter has redeemed himself and came back and showed strong mental fortitude and doubled down on that bad boy with confidence and fortitude, come on, man. Put respect where respect is due. The Charlos redeemed themselves for 2019. So I'm going to respect them. The question is, are you going to man up and woman enough to respect them yourself? It's really that simple. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.